Hello and welcome back to Francesca's Final Whistle. Today I'm going to be talking about the new fixtures of the Premier League which have come out today and also the upcoming games for the World Cup. So let's just get into it. So obviously the fixtures have come out this morning for the new Premier League season. Some interesting couple of games. So like the opening game, Arsenal versus Coventry. Coventry have just come up with Frank Lampard. That's going to be a thriller. We know what Frank Lampard is like. He's obviously done very well for Coventry. So it could be a very interesting game. Arsenal have obviously just been crowned champions of England. So obviously Arsenal will have that pressure as well, because obviously they've just been crowned champions and obviously they've got a newly promoted team to play against in the first game of the campaign. So that could be a very interesting game. And then on the weekend of the opening of the Premier League, we have got Hull City versus Manchester United, Everton versus Crystal Palace, Ipswich versus Sunderland, Nottingham Forest against Leeds United, Brentford versus Tottenham. That's all on the Saturday of the opening of the Premier League campaign. And then on the Sunday, we've got Brighton versus Aston Villa, Birmingham City versus Bournemouth, Newcastle versus Liverpool, and that's for the Sunday. And the Monday is a derby, Fulham versus Chelsea. I mean, as a Chelsea fan, I'm not going to argue with it. It's a decent game to start off with, but I think I would have preferred someone more interesting. But it is what it is. Like, I'm not mad about it, but we could have had a better opening game. I would have preferred like an Arsenal or something, but we have got them in the upcoming games. But yeah, it's an interesting opener of a Premier League. Like Nottingham Forest versus Leeds, that's interesting. You've got Ipswich versus Sunderland. Obviously, you've got Newcastle versus Liverpool. Could Isak obviously be playing against his former club? You never know. It could be interesting, but you never know who these teams are going to be signing during this transfer window. And obviously, the main one, Arsenal versus Coventry City. That's obviously the very first opening game of the Premier League season. Coventry have just come up. Arsenal have been crowned champions. It is a very interesting game. Frank Lampard's back in the Premier League. It's an interesting opener, and I will say I do not know what the outcome could be. They're both really good teams. Obviously, Coventry finished top of the championship. You just never know. It could be a really interesting game. But I am going to move on to the World Cup now, as that is happening. So I'm going to be talking about the Canada versus Qatar game, where Canada beat Qatar 6-0, which is a massive win for Canada and Jesse Marsch, with Jonathan David with the hat trick, which that is crazy that he's got a hat trick. There was 2 red cards, so they have literally in the opening first week they have done the record of the red cards. Bearing in mind there was 4 red cards in the whole tournament of the last World Cup, and now there is so many going on. There is always like a red card happening. So it's interesting that like, obviously there has been a lot of red cards already in the opening week of the tournament. But yeah, Canada, they've been smashing it at the minute. Obviously, their goal difference is going to be a lot better now with a 6-0 on the score sheets. Like, honestly, it is crazy. Tonight's game is obviously Scotland versus Morocco. Scotland are hoping for a second win against Morocco, but Morocco are a very strong team, so it's going to be a hard game for Scotland to go into. And then you have got USA versus Australia tonight as well. So there are 2 big games that is going to be happening tonight. Tomorrow you have got Brazil versus Haiti, you've got Turkey versus Paraguay, Germany versus Ivory Coast, and Netherlands versus Sweden. So there's some big games tomorrow coming ahead of us. Brazil have obviously, they've got like a decent side, but I do think Brazil will win that game. Turkey versus Paraguay, it's another interesting game, but I do think Turkey will win that game. Germany and Ivory Coast and Netherlands versus Sweden is probably the biggest 2 games of tomorrow. Germany and Ivory Coast are obviously both decent sides, so that could be a really interesting game for them both. and then Netherlands versus Sweden, which Netherlands obviously drew 2-2 to Japan, and Sweden did win their game against Tunisia. So it is an interesting game. Let's just say that there has been 6 red cards already in this tournament, which has already beaten the record of the last World Cup tournament. So my prediction, I will go for over 20 red cards, as there has obviously only been 6 so far in the first week. So I am going a little bit high for the red cards in this tournament, due to obviously how many there has been already. So at the minute, the race of the golden boot of this campaign is Lionel Messi and Jonathan David, both with 3 goals each, and Kai Havertz coming in second, which obviously Germany have got Ivory Coast this weekend. So could we see Kai Havertz getting more goals, or staying with 2 goals at the minute until another game? But you just never know. Some players may surprise us. Obviously, with Jonathan David for Canada, he's already got 3 goals, which was yesterday's game against Qatar. He got a hat-trick. Obviously, with Lionel Messi's opening game for Argentina, he got a hat-trick as well. So it could be quite interesting to see who could actually be in the race for this golden boot. With Harry Kane with 2 goals already, which he scored against Croatia in our opening game of the campaign, after a penalty incident that took place, which he had to retake his penalty after missing it, but luckily it got taken back because the goalkeeper came off his line. So Harry Kane got to take his penalty again, and he scored his penalty. But yeah, I do think that, taking away from the England game versus Croatia, that Marcus Rashford should start an England game. Obviously coming off the bench and making that impact already, and obviously scoring a goal as well. Like, he had that impact as soon as he came off the bench, he scores. So I do think if he does well in this World Cup, I feel like maybe some clubs may be after him, because obviously Barcelona don't want him now. But I do think that if he does do really well, someone will be calling him, which he does deserve it, to be fair. Like, he needs to be somewhere that is obviously going to be treated well, and he's going to get his goals in that he wants. So I do think that if obviously some players do really well in this World Cup, then they will be getting signed by clubs. Just like, look at the Qatar World Cup, where Chelsea signed Enzo Fernandez because obviously they did win the World Cup. So it could be another one of them scenarios where someone will win the World Cup, and then some of them players could be going to different clubs. One thing I will say about this World Cup is the hydration breaks. It can be frustrating as well, because obviously it's annoying when obviously the game's happening and the ref's blowing the whistle for a hydration break. It's frustrating for the fans, it's frustrating for the players, because obviously they're having to take their time out, and there's going to be delays in the game. There's going to be more time added on. So these are like the things that people are talking about. So I do think it is annoying, but the weather is really hot out there. Obviously sometimes when obviously the game's on the evening and late at night, the temperature has cooled down, but they are still doing the hydration breaks, which it can be really annoying for people. And obviously there has been a lot of noise happening when the hydration breaks do come across. Like, there is a lot of boos that we have heard during this tournament. So I do think that it is quite annoying, because obviously the 3 minutes each, so it's quite annoying. And then obviously if there's more stoppage time, like stopping in the game, there's obviously going to be more for like the before half time and then before full time as well. So I do think it is frustrating for a lot of people, because obviously they're having to wait 3 minutes for obviously the drinks break, and then obviously the managers can have their talks. But yeah, I do think it can be frustrating, especially if you were going ahead with the ball. You could potentially score a goal, and then obviously the ref's blowing the whistle for a drinks break. So I do think I can see where people are coming from, where obviously they are getting irritated, but obviously the players do need a break if it is really hot out there. That is it for today's episode on Francesca's final whistle. I hope you guys enjoyed. If there is any more like hot take predictions, please let me know and I can talk about it. If there's any games that you want me to speak about, then I will. But yeah, thank you for watching.